So in Halo 3, one of the coolest places in the entire game also happens to be one of the most impossible to reach in the entire game. So, can we get to it? Let's give it a shot! So the area we'll be trying to get to today is one that you'll recognize if you ever have played Halo 3. At the end of the mission, the Ark, you get picked up by a Pelican, but below the platform that the Pelican picks you up on is one of the coolest structures in the entire game. Now, there are barriers and death barriers pretty much everywhere on this section of the mission. So getting down to the bottom of this was going to be an extremely difficult task. Now luckily there is a blueprint for this, and after years of trying to figure out a different method to get to the bottom of the map, I finally settled on a method that's been done before. But this method was one of my biggest fears. And the reason for that was simple. I knew it was going to take an enormous amount of time. But this is a bucket list area that I've always wanted to get to, so I was determined to get here for the first time. Now the reason that this trick is such a painful one to even pull off is because there are a lot of steps before you even get to the destination. You have to start the mission the Ark at least Rally Point Bravo, and then from here you need to procure at least 5 vehicles, 2 Warthogs, 2 Choppers, and 1 Ghost. Now the reason that we need all these vehicles is because we're going to try to clip into the passenger cabin of the Pelican with all of these vehicles later in the mission. But before we even get there, we need to be pretty strategic about how we're going to do this. The door that 343 Guilty Spark opens after you destroy the Scarab, well, it only has about a 30-second timer before it closes. After that point, you automatically load into that room. So after destroying the Scarab, I went immediately over to these vehicles. Now I needed to make sure that I got all of them in before the door closed. I forgot to mention, I was trying this trick by myself with 2 separate players, so everything was just a little bit more difficult and took more time. But the most time-consuming part was about to hit. Getting the vehicles into this building and into the next section of the mission wasn't the extremely challenging part. The challenging part is getting all these vehicles to the end platform, because you have to take them through a series of doors and hallways that are not meant for vehicles. They are, in most cases, too small, which means we have to do a lot of navigating. Now I decided that I was first going to take the Warthog through the mission because I knew it was going to be the most difficult. Now there's one thing preventing me from taking these all the way to the end platform one at a time. After you get past the brute that's peeing in the corner, there will be 2 hallways. Once you get to the next set of rooms, if you exit that room and go to the next section, it will then close the door behind you. So that means that I need to transport all these vehicles again, one by one, to the energy beam room with all the Covenant plasma batteries. Now in order for me to pull off this trick, I did need to have a specific set of skulls enabled. Well, really only one. The tilt skull. Because I was going to be beating these vehicles so many times, I needed them to have basically invincible health. And activating the skull essentially does this. You have to hit vehicles an insane amount of times for them to actually blow up. But anyways, it's time for the music and enjoy the struggle. So I'm just taking all these vehicles through the mission. Okay, all these are safely in the next room. I'm going to clear out this room now. So I wanted to make sure that I parked all the vehicles in the previous room because in the next room there are about 500 trillion plasma batteries. And vehicles and explosions are no bueno for this trick. But this would mean that, once again, I have to transport all 5 of these vehicles to the next destination, which is through this room, down a set of hallways, and into another room. However, getting to this next section was going to be much more challenging because the doorway has a shape that is very prohibitive to vehicles and specifically warthogs, as you will find out. So you can kind of see why this trick is difficult. I spent nearly 2 minutes trying to get this warthog through the doorway one singular time before I just decided to revert to the last checkpoint and try it again. After failing another time and sinking nearly 5 minutes into getting one singular warthog through one singular doorway, I finally had a little bit more success. Now the trick of this is, I think you want to hit the warthog down the stairs instead of driving it down. That way it's already in an orientation that will help you get it to a 45-degree angle on its back, which is pretty much the only way that you can get this through unless you have it on its side. But just as quickly as I had hoped, the warthog flipped upside down and then got, like, magnetized to the ceiling. If I couldn't get this warthog through the door on this attempt, I was already at the point where I was ready to give up on this and try to figure something else out. Now, luckily, or unluckily, depending on your perspective, I was able to get this warthog through and continue this trick. Now, I just needed to take the rest of the vehicles to the next room and park them in the corner.
Alright, I'm getting pissed off. The brutes keep hitting my vehicles. I can see them through the radar, and these dumbass Marines keep engaging them but not killing them.
So one thing that I probably should have taken care of before I started parking vehicles in the next room was the enemies in the room, because I could hear the vehicles moving in the room under me. And the last thing that I wanted to have happen was have a stray plasma grenade from an enemy destroy multiple vehicles. This was already painful enough. So I cleared out all these enemies and I was back to transporting these vehicles. But I did this a little bit differently than Tenacious Tricking did this 13 years ago. They took all the vehicles through all the rooms to the very bottom platform. And I figured, well, couldn't I just dump all of these on the upper platform when you activate the cartographer? So I took all of them one by one and I dumped them off the ledge. I wasn't completely sure once I activated the cutscene whether or not all the vehicles were going to disappear, but I was not about to take 5 vehicles down another set of hallways and rooms.
Really?
So now was the real moment of truth. After this cutscene, I needed to see all the vehicles on the lower platform or I was just going to end this game. And luckily, my more efficient method worked. So now was the tricky part. I needed to make sure all these vehicles were lined up around this hole-like structure. After we eliminated the last enemy on this platform, the Pelican would then come flying in. Now using the Acrophobia skull, I would fly over the Pelican to not activate the cutscene and then hit it towards this hole. I would then stack all the vehicles next to the passenger cabin with the cabin firmly in this hole. Hypothetically, this would eliminate any space and the closest open area would be the cabin, which is, well, it's technically open, but you can't actually access it without clipping into it. Now, all this explanation to tell you, I accidentally paused recording to go take a break after getting this set up, so I don't have any footage of me actually clipping into the Pelican just afterwards. But no matter, you will see it in time. After I was able to successfully get in the cabin of this Pelican, I now needed to take my second player and with a Gauss Warthog shoot it repeatedly over and over until it was past the rib-like structure where you can see the waterfall. The goal, or so I thought, was to get to the end of these rib-like structures, and then once I was there, from the interior of the cabin, I would beat the Pelican down inch by inch. Now what you're seeing is essentially clips of a 20-minute segment where once the Pelican got low enough, I took a second player with the Acrophobia skull and shot 6 brute shots, reloaded, and did this over and over and over and over again. I couldn't think of any way to shoot the Pelican downward more efficiently, and beating the Pelican from the inside, well, that was going to take forever. Now it was really hard to tell if I was actually moving at certain points. But then, eventually, my body started floating, which meant I had hit the elastic barrier. Now, I just needed to get past this all the way to the bottom. So yeah, I randomly died while in the Pelican and an hour and a half of effort went right down the drain. This was so painful that I didn't try this again for another 6 months. This time I recruited my brother to make this a little bit easier.
Dude, you have Chungus energy, bro, straight up. Like when I
listen, my $7,000 check cleared. You can't be saying that to me.
Because I failed on the first time, this means you get to see the perspective of exactly how to do this. So the Pelican that comes in at the end of this mission, if you get too close to it in its normal position, will automatically end the mission, which we do not want. So in order to get around that, I activated the Acrophobia skull to be able to fly to the side, up, and to the back end of this. The reason that we need to do this is because we need to push the Pelican into this cubby with the hole. We need to make sure that this entire hole is encompassed by the Pelican's cabin.
Oh, where am I?
Are you in the Pelican?
No.
So using a brute shot, I shot this over and over and over again to get it in the right position. Now once I got it into the hole, it was time to set this up. In order to clip into this cabin, we were going to use a ghost and wedge it in this hole in between the Pelican and the structure. From this point, we would then take all of the vehicles and stack them as methodically as we possibly could around the ghost to ensure that the closest open area to access was the inside of the Pelican. Now it took over an hour, but it actually worked. You in it?
I think so. Yeah, I'm definitely in it.
Nice, finally. So in order to get this Pelican to its destination, we first needed to shoot it with a brute shot a bunch of times so it was high enough in the air that we could start sending it towards the opening of the ribs. After it got high enough, I decided just to stand straight on top of this with a brute shot. That way I could navigate the Pelican to the exact place that I wanted it to with full control. And after finally getting this Pelican to where it's supposed to be before we go down vertically, we're finally ready to pull this off.
Sorry, Netanyahu was at my door. I had to get rid of him.
Also, my brother got tricked when he hit the elastic barrier and he thought he was falling out the back of the Pelican.
Oh, no. Why am I going away? No!
Being pushed by the barrier, dude. Chill out.
Well, I'm almost out of the Pelican.
Okay, dude.
But like I said earlier, while the Pelican's door is technically open, you can't get in or out of it. But him pushing past the elastic barrier was a good sign that we were headed in the right direction. It would just take about 10,000 more brute shots.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
You know, the World Trade Center, the one only day Larry Silverstein didn't show up for work.
Strange stuff.
Jarvis, unshit my pants.
I think at the end of this, I'm going to be at like 20,000 shots. That's a lot of
should.
shots given.
Am I going down?
I believe so. Every time I slip down a little bit more with Acrophobia, I fall down closer, and then I'm able to keep falling.
Or just a yes. The right or Excuse me?
It fell through the floor.
I died.
Yeah, apparently we need to be further back, I guess. So that was legitimately the fourth or fifth time that I had tried to pull this off. And another 6 months went by before I decided, hey, I could probably try this one more time without having a conniption. But this time, I had the idea to just go way past the rib structure and get out with the Acrophobia skull activated. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Moment of truth. But I thought if I could get past the death barrier, I could just fly all the way to the bottom, thus making the easiest way to get to this yet. Okay. Perfect. I'm still not. Oh, I think I went too far forward. Why am I just waiting till I drop all the way to the bottom? I could crouch at any point. I pressed the wrong fucking button again. Actually, I'm gonna slow down this time. Bam! We're down here. Hopefully I don't run into a death barrier immediately. Oh. It's on a platform. You can see that damn Pelican still drifting back into the map, dude. It does not want to stay out there. It wants to be where it's supposed to be, which is at the end of the mission, ending the mission. What a crazy view, though. You know the Arbiter, if you're playing in single player, once you go to the top level of this before you get to the final platform, he actually goes, flies his Banshee down here and drops it, and he just stands down here. I don't ever want to leave. It just took so much to get here. If this crap is, will I die if I go over here? We'll see. This impeccable design. Like, they didn't have to put lights down here. It looks like an old office building. Wrong grenade. That was almost really bad. Huh. I want to get up higher, but... Oh, wait a minute. I have the Acrophobia skull on, so I could just fly up there. Wow. Oh, none of these are even... Oh, there's a cubby back here. Oh, wow. Design elements you wouldn't even notice. Is there another one? That's the only cubby. On the other side as well. Completely blocked off to the site. Oh, there's cubbies everywhere, brah. How far you can go around this thing? Oh, there it is. Hit the wall. Pretty cool little looky here. That's the floor around. Hey, the sun is out here. Assuming that's the edge. Cool, unabated views. Beautiful, really. What happens if I fly up on the outside of this? Glowing? The sun changes to purple? Am I really stuck here? What am I looking at? I'm just really glad I don't have to try to get here anymore. It's taken probably 15 hours and multiple years, multiple sessions, many failures. But we're here. What are those things? Wall? Just a bunch of dead enemies up here. They got caught by the... I think the weapons just fall right through the map floor. That's weird.